It does not take superpowers to become a superhero, as is showcased today by our man Oliver Queen, aka the Green Arrow. So what makes the Emerald Archer such a fantastic comic book character? Why has he stood the test of time? Why is he often attributed as the first non-founding elected member of the Justice League of America? And why is he cool enough to have his own TV show? As with many characters, we'll have to start from the origin to see what makes this hero. And if you saw the pilot to the Arrow TV show, they made some creative liberties, adding and changing some characters to make it more dramatic and suitable for television, but all in all, the origin is pretty much set in stone. As a young child, idolizing Robin Hood fairly early on, becomes a natural archer, frequently practicing with the bow and arrow, becomes mildly traumatized the first time he accidentally takes the life of an animal, and when his mother and father are being mauled by lions in a tragic safari accident, his hesitation to shoot cost them their lives. Afterwards, he's raised by his uncle and eventually inherited the family fortune and business, Queen Industries. Oliver grows into a rich, thrill-seeking, drunken playboy billionaire with no real sense of responsibility or direction until he is marooned on a remote island. Having previously taken everything in his life for granted, this experience taught him self-reliance and made him into the man that he is today. Moving on to the powers and abilities of Green Arrow, as he has no powers, we'll stick straight to abilities here. Although it is theorized that he might possibly be a metahuman to account for these fantastic skills, however, there is no basis or confirmation on this whatsoever, so for now we'll leave that up in the air. Oliver is of course a master archer, the greatest in the DC universe bar none. He's able to shoot 29 arrows per minute with a wide variety of trick arrows ranging from bola arrows to time bomb arrows, EMP arrows, boxing glove arrows, and anything you can basically attach to the end of an arrow. Although his reliance on these trick arrows has changed throughout the years and most of the time just prefers to use the old-fashioned arrow. He is an expert in acrobatics, oftentimes using it to evade enemy fire, as well as firing himself while mid-flip or somersaulting off of buildings. He can fly his own airplane, called the Aeroplane, although this is something that he often does not use and or has been destroyed throughout time. Can also fly many other different types of planes. He is proficient in many forms of hand-to-hand combat, including judo, kickboxing, and karate. He is one of the greatest hand-to-hand martial artists in the entire DC universe, being able to take on up to 7 people at once, as well as going toe-to-toe with many of the greatest hand-to-hand combats in the entire DC universe, Batman on one occasion, Deathstroke in many occasions, as well as the Red Hood in a sword fight, and being able to take down Jason Todd in a sword fight. He's also very proficient with the sword, although his preferred weapon of choice is of course the bow and arrow. He is an expert hunter, and what makes him very different from many other heroes, his alter ego serves a dual purpose, in that Ollie ran for office and became the mayor of Star City for a significant amount of time, with many interests in politics, as well as being the leader of his parents' company, Queen Industries. He has had many an identity crisis to see which of his personalities, being it Green Arrow or Oliver Queen, which would be best suited for serving the people and humanity, serving out justice, and doing the best that he can for the people. This is something that he has struggled with many a times. He has retired and gone back into the line of work many a times. Many people like to akin him to a certain popular Marvel character with a bow and arrow, but doppelgangers are a subject for a different video altogether. Although if I were to compare him to another Marvel character, it would be a much easier comparison to talk about not Hawkeye, but the Punisher or Daredevil, as he is the greatest journeyman of the DC universe, turning up in many different places at many different times, training many different ways, and having to take out many different foes after hanging up the Green Arrow persona. He has been married off and on with a couple of different characters. He has traveled throughout the entire world, has been a part of many different superhero groups, as well as some enemy groups while undercover. The Green Arrow is not one to be trifled with. This is an expert archer that has been known for 1 or 2 or 3 revenge killings. He is While at first afraid to kill, this is not something that troubles him any longer, although it is not his preferred way of fighting. He has killed a total of 17 people on panel 14 of which happening in the brutal Crossroads storyline, and is been able to take out many of foes who have done him wrong. He is not afraid of a revenge killing every now and again, is incredibly deadly. He's not someone that you want to mess with. He is one of the heroes who has died on occasion one time, as many heroes have in the past, sacrificing himself after he is stuck inside a bomb, decides to take his own life instead of having the bomb going over a very highly populated city. Although Superman would have his different version of this story, he is nonetheless someone who has saved many lives, many towns, even a world or two, in the 0 Hour storyline, where he takes a crucial shot at Hal Jordan when he is possessed by the Parallax, enabling him and the rest of the heroes who stop him from basically destroying the universe. So he has that going for him too. Being an arch enemy of many assassins, including the deadly Deathstroke, he has shown himself to be more than capable to go toe-to-toe with many superpowered villains, and has stood the test of time. He is very, very powerful, very skillful, one of the greatest hand-to-hand combatants in the DC universe, taking out pretty much anyone you can think of outside of Wonder Woman. But the Green Arrow is always a force for good. He has sometimes had his miscues and his conflicting thoughts, both politically and socially. However, the Green Arrow seems to always be a force for good, much like Batman is in many of the Elseworld storylines. The Green Arrow is a fighter for justice, has his follies and his foibles and his character malfunctions, but the Green Arrow nonetheless is a character that has stood the test of time, and a guy that you want on your side. The Emerald Archer has a very intriguing storyline, one that I highly suggest is more interesting than many of his more powerful counterparts, and is one that continues to thrill people today. Whether it be being the Green Arrow or being Oliver Queen, the mayor and leader of Queen Industries, he is always trying to do right by the world. He does not see it beyond repair. He's much more pragmatic than most other superheroes and puts his life on the line for others, being just a normal man, the peak of human condition as it is, having no powers to claim as his own, but a force for good and a superhero nonetheless that you want on his side. A killing machine when you need him to be, but otherwise a force for good. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for next week where I go over one of the foes that he goes toe-to-toe with many times, a deadly assassin, and one who is very intriguing in his own right, Deathstroke.